Welcome back, everybody, to your three-man booth. We are heading into NFL Week 8. Can you believe it's halfway? It feels like a lot longer for us New York fans. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. We've got your ATS picks. Last week, we all got a win. I escaped without a loss. This puts us in pretty good company halfway through the season. I feel good about how we've been picking and the trends. Phil, we've been starting with you. Let's keep it there. What do you got for Week 8?
Mine are pretty simple this week and maybe a little chalky, we'll see. But I'm taking Buffalo minus 3.5 against the Patriots. Ooh. I mean, someone argue why the Patriots are gonna win this game right now. You can't. So I'll take Buffalo minus 3.5. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills haven't looked great the last few weeks, but they've escaped with. I think they went 2-1 in that stretch. Obviously, they played the Jets last week, which I know we'll get into. But again, Well, you gave me a reason why the Patriots are going to cover the spread. I don't think anyone can right now. Cam Newton himself even said, if I play like that again, I'm not going to be the quarterback anymore. So he knows it's –
Is he starting or is Stidham getting the start? I mean, I guess.
Oh, he's starting again, but
okay.
It might. I mean, it sounds like he has a very short leash. So,
yeah. And
then my other one I think is no surprise to anyone. I don't understand how this line is 3.5. Give me Philly minus 10 against Dallas this week, and I would take that. Again, there's Ben DiNucci will not be scoring any points against these Philadelphia Eagles. So give me Philly minus 3.5. In fact, Bud, get down to the Borgata early. I want this bet in before Sunday at 1:00 because this is a lock. This is an absolute lock.
I'm sorry. Did you mention the name of an NFL starting quarterback? Because I didn't hear Ben DiNucci.
Ben DiNucci is going to be your starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
Whoa!
It sounds like you should be opening an Italian restaurant.
It sounds like that Mark Wahlberg movie where
you're stereotyping, Phil. I don't appreciate that as an Italian American.
If somebody had a restaurant called Ganucci's, I would go and eat at it because it sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Awesome eggplant parm.
Like Frank Pepe's. You go
exactly.
Go there, yeah.
I'm not a Pepe's guy. I don't like Pepe's.
It's okay, but the name's good.
Yeah, I guess.
In any event, you got to get down to AC early because I mean this is a lock. 3.5. Come on, that's ridiculous. Dallas got the crap kicked out of them by Washington last week.
And Carson Wentz is on fire. That's a joke of a line. The money always backs the Cowboys. That's why. So I'd put some.
That line. Well, I mean, I looked at it today when we did this. There's no way that line sits at 3.5. There's no way. No.
Yeah, grab it early. I agree. Well, Bud, you lost with the Jets last week because they covered. What do you got this week?
It's the only game they've covered all year, by the way.
That's true. We'll get into that later. Yeah.
I'm going to take Chargers laying 3.5, I think, to the Broncos. The way Justin Herbert's playing right now, I mean, he's on another planet. 12 touchdowns in only 5 games. Offense seems to be clicking on all cylinders. And I mean, Denver's not very good. I mean, they got shellacked by Kansas City, which most teams do. And I'm going to go out on the limb here, and I'm going to take the Jets. I'm not taking the Jets to win. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the Jets to cover. They have it is the 9th largest spread in the history of the NFL. I think as we do this, it's 21 points. Like I said to Phil when we just did the podcast, I just think Kansas City's mentality is we're just going to score as many points as we want in the first half, and then we're just going to take it. They could easily score 24 points, and the Jets can score 2 touchdowns in garbage time and still win 24-14 and not even try for the second half of football. Yeah. So I just think that it's now could I see them winning 35-3? Yeah, I could see that too, but.
Yeah,
I just think historically these large spread games they don't typically cover, so I'm just going to take the Jets and.
No, I agree. I agree. No, I know it's hard to pass up 3 touchdowns, and generally that's more than enough for a team to cover. I hate to say you should back the Jets in garbage time, but maybe back them before we get there, and that 3 touchdowns will put you over.
Right.
I want to circle back on the Chargers quarterback in a moment, but first I'll give you my picks. I'm going to take 2 teams that have been winning. Again, chip on their shoulder, getting points. I like the Bears. They're getting 4 against New Orleans. The Saints haven't scared anybody. Bears are going to be at home. They're looking to bounce back after a tough loss to the Rams. And I think this is still a good Chicago football team. And New Orleans defense, I hate to say everyone expects them to kind of put it together. I don't see it happening. This is a good Bears team. It's going to be a close football game, and I like taking the 4 points. In the other game, I'm blanking. I'm giving up 3. Who am I taking? My mind is –
You just take
the Raiders, yes.
Browns.
I like the Raiders, yeah. The Raiders are giving up a field goal. Are they giving up a field goal or they're getting a field goal? They're playing the Browns. It's irrelevant. This is a good Raiders team, and the Browns are teetering, and they just lost Odell Beckham for the season. I don't think that offense – they're good, but I just don't – that's a huge loss, and I like the Raiders to win that game. I think I'm getting 3 points. I said I'm getting 3 points both games. So I'm taking the points and taking the team I think is going to win anyways because the Raiders look like they're heading in the right direction.
So we talked about this before. Is it a big loss? I'm the biggest Beckham fan you'll see. I think he's awesome. But he went out of the game and Mayfield threw for almost 300 yards and 5 touchdowns.
I know, but you can't not cover him. So if he's not on the field, you can double cover the other guy. I think that was a lack of adjustment by the Bengals, who are an awful football team.
That is 100% could be accurate.
What I think it is, and what we just talked about, is the fact that the offense can loosen up a little bit without Odell Beckham on the field. I mean, you look at it and maybe Baker Mayfield says to himself, okay, now I don't have to worry about whether or not he's getting any looks or passes, or is he going to complain on the sideline that you're not throwing me the football, all this other stuff. I mean, he went 0 for 5 with an interception when he was in the game. He got hurt, and then he went 22 for 23 and threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's not –
So you really think that has to do with Beckham and not the Browns finally just putting it to a bad defense like they should have?
I think that if the Browns can repeat and do it again against the Raiders team that, one, can't stop the run, so that's going to set up the play action and it's going to set up the deep throw, I think that we'll find out.
Yeah. So I'm happy with how the Browns have progressed this season, but they scare the hell out of me. And they really should not have beaten the Bengals last week. And that speaks a lot to both teams positively and negatively. So
that was a great throw, though. That was an awesome throw and catch in the end zone. I mean, that was impressive.
It was.
But like when I said to Bud, when Chubb comes back, that team is just going to run the crap out of the ball. They don't want Baker Mayfield to throw for 400 yards. They don't. They have a really good offensive line, probably one of the best in the league. They're just going to pound that rock with Chubb and Hunt for the rest of the season when he comes back in a few weeks.
No, and Baker Mayfield hasn't proven that he can handle that type of passing load anyways on every game. Maybe for a couple quarters. But, I mean, I think they're a good team. I just think the Raiders are better than their record, and the Browns are a little bit worse than their record. But we'll see.
Yeah.
So before we get into we'll call them teams, I would like to talk about Herbert because Bud, you mentioned how great he's been playing, and I'm blown away. Do either of you remember when he got drafted last year? I know it was a virtual draft, so there was a little bit less fanfare, but I don't remember hearing much about him.
First round, 6th pick.
Oh, he was 6th to the Chargers, L.A. Okay. So he wasn't the top quarterback because that was Burrow. So he was the second one off the board?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I'm not a close follower of college football. But Burrow was hands down the number 1 pick, right? And then everyone else was kind of like, okay, there's other quarterbacks. This guy's just as good as Burrow, at least his rookie year. I'm just impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the Chargers have more weapons around and a much better offensive line because Joe Burrow is throwing for all these touchdowns and all these yards because he doesn't have a choice because the run game is non-existent. I mean, it's just they're always behind, so he has to throw. I think Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, Eckler before he got hurt. I mean, the Chargers have a really good offensive nucleus of weapons there, so I'm not surprised Herbert's playing so well.
Well, so this makes me –
You almost screwed me in fantasy because you put up a 50 burger on me.
Oof. Oh, yeah. He got 50. See, I have him on my team, and he got 38. So that's just the difference in scoring. But
yeah, it's different than score, but still, it's it's
oh,
it's all
amazing.
relevant. Yeah, all the scoring is relevant. But I mean, I was up by 70 points, and he almost screwed me last week.
Yeah.
Thank God David Montgomery is a no-show. But
yeah. Well, so we got two rookie quarterbacks doing very well on bad teams, but they have a decent nucleus in LA for the Chargers, and even Burrow's doing well considering there's not much around him. It begs the question of Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, young quarterbacks who have yet to really thrive in their environments. Neither one are in significantly worse situations than Burrow in Cincinnati. Now, Burrow was a number one pick hands down. Jones and Darnold, they weren't slam dunks, but they were consensus top picks. Just makes me wonder.
Listen, I didn't see Joe Burrow scamper for an 80-yard run the other night. Did you?
Yeah, but he didn't also slip on his ass.
I would say for that argument, they're completely different situations. I mean, if you have Barkley, yes, you have a really good running game. Yeah, the offensive line sucks, but I mean, I feel like it's a little more of a well-rounded team because you got Shepard and you got Slayton and you got Ingram for who knows how much longer unless he gets traded. And I just feel there's more distribution. In Cincinnati, it's Mixon when he's healthy, and it's Tyler Boyd because AJ Green is non-existent, so you can't even talk about him anymore. Like that's it. Like I think their tree is so narrow that.
But Burrow's still doing well, right? So maybe it's that he's just not making mistakes.
Well, he's a compiler right now. He's compiling stats. It's not resulting in wins. He's just compiling stats.
Well, right, but they have no defense. I mean, he's scoring enough points that they could win if they had a better defense.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's to each his. It's a. I just.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not like expecting you to trash your team, and I expect Bud and I to trash our team. But it just makes you wonder because Darnold's still making the rookie mistakes. Jones is still making the rookie mistakes. Now, Josh Allen is making them, but he's getting away with it because he seems to be that good. These players don't get away with it for more than a season. Herbert and Burrow don't seem to be making them, or maybe they are, and that's why they're losing. I'm seeing something different from some players and not our quarterbacks, and it makes me think we should try to move on. And I'm not sure Jones is ready. I mean, without Barkley, that's tough, but he should have stolen one of these two or 3 point losses with his own game, and he hasn't yet.
There's so much that goes in it. I mean, we talked about it before. The Giants are a bounce of a ball away from being 4-2. It's that Bear game they were making a drive. The Rams game they were leading in. The Philadelphia game they were winning till the end. And the Dallas game they probably should have won. There's 4 wins right there. Plus the Washington game. So it's
So I don't disagree with you. And those things always even out. But sometimes they even out within the season, and sometimes they even out the next season. So
I'm going to say they're going to even out the next season because, as we said before, Bud was talking about at least you're seeing progress. And yes, each week you're seeing it. Mistakes are still there, but at least like you're seeing that there's something you're working towards, right? Whether it comes this year or next year, I prefer it next year, to be quite honest with you. I don't want it to even out this year because they're not winning a Super Bowl this year as the team is presently constructed. So I'll wait till next year if you want to even it out then.
Yeah, and I guess that's I'll get to you in a second, but that gets to you the 8-8 versus bottoming out discussion. Do you want them? Yeah.
Right. And that's what I said too. I go, it benefits you at all. Like, let's say you win the division at 6-10, something stupid like that. You're going to get smacked in the first round, and then you're left with a high mid first round pick, which gets you nowhere.
What do you think, though? I mean, it's the opposite's true for Wentz and the Eagles, right, though? Because he's obviously saving himself a job, proving that he is this entire offense and winning, and they probably will win the division because of him. Get bounced in the first round, but that's another division title. That 2-3 years in a row, or 3 playoff appearances in a row after the Super Bowl. I mean,
well, yes, but anyone who wins the NFC East this year is not going to be.
I'm just saying Carson Wentz was playing for his job, and I think he secured it. So he's got a different motivation. Darnold's playing for his job, and he's losing it. But I got to hear your thoughts because he was the reason they didn't beat Buffalo last week because the Bills let the Jets hang around again, and it was just maddening. Speechless. Okay.
No, you were. You were buffering. I didn't hear what you said. I will say this. Yes, he's partially the reason why they lost. He made two bad plays. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, he made two bad plays, and I know that the offense made zero adjustments, and it's really frustrating him at quarterback and the rest of the team, rightfully so, because the Jets seem to be stuck. Well, now Bud's frozen. That makes sense. They seem to be stuck with these coaches that don't make any adjustments, and I just don't know how you keep hiring the same boneheaded people that can't make halftime adjustments, let alone week.
So I don't know if Bud's still buffering or not, but he told me before that after halftime the Jets had 4 yards of offense in the second half. 4. And Devontae Adams and Tyler Lockett had more receiving yards than the Jets had total yards this game.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
There he is. I was going over the 4 yards of offense the Jets had in the second half.
Can you hear me or no?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, they had a lead, and then they decided not to play.
Here's the reason why the Jets suck. Okay? So, quarterback didn't play well. Nobody plays well. Offensive line is terrible. They have no running game. They don't use Michael P. Ryan nearly as much. They went into this with an offensive game plan in the first half. They played better. They made no adjustments in the second half, and then they were terrible in the second half. I said to Phil, and I said to you, and I've been saying it for the last 3 weeks. Is it Sam? Is it the coach? Or is it the product of the both? I think it's product of both right now. But the coaching is not helping him. It's just not. I mean, the offensive play calling is awful. He has no weapons around him. He has no time to throw the football, and he's just chucking it up, and that's.
Well, I don't actually dislike the offensive line schemes, but again, I don't think they're being put in positions to succeed, and they don't have much of a run block. I mean, the pass blocking is better, but I guess I'm comparing to last season, which was terrible. I actually think P. Ryan has potential, but again, you said they're not using him.
No, they're still giving Gore 11 snaps a game.
I don't know why he's not getting 20. Give the kid 20 touches. He's a rookie. He's 20 years old. Let him run the football. See what you have. I mean,
Gase likes Gore from Miami days. He thinks it gives him the best chance to win.
Clearly it does, right?
Yeah. But back to Darnold, because there was an interesting couple of articles on ESPN about his confidence. And I think we talked about the quarterbacks and it's situational, but it's also personality driven. I always thought Darnold had a lot of confidence and he could lead his team. He could overcome adversity, but I'm beginning to think that it's just gotten to be too much and he can't. And he does need a change of scenery to succeed at all in this career, because he should have had every confidence in the world in the second half with a 10-point lead. And he just doesn't have any with Gase.
Dan, this is the same. It's the same movie.
I know.
It's every 3 years we talk the same thing. You bring in a young, talented player. By the way, when Sam was drafted number 3 overall, everyone thought he was going to go number 1. That's how good he was. All right. So this is. I don't. If you have unless your name is Ryan Leaf, if you have number 1 overall talent as a quarterback, chances are you're a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. Sanchez did well on the Jets, and then he proved that he's a slightly above average quarterback and had a trend through the backup ranks and had a decent career for an NFL player. But he actually had some success early on, but he wasn't as good as he was touted. But he still succeeded.
But he also had weapons, and he had an offensive line, and he had a great defense. And those things help, and the Jets have none of those things.
No, I agree. And so what do we want from this team? Phil kind of hinted at what he wants from the Giants. What do we want? Because there's some solid players on this team, but I'd like to think Douglas is building a winner. This is so early in his tenure. You need to give people a chance, but Gase doesn't deserve it. Maybe Bowles deserved it. I don't know.
So I'll ask you what I asked Bud earlier. The trade deadline's coming up. Is there anybody on the Jets you're like, let's see what we can get for him? You know, Quentin Williams was touted as being asked about. You know, but we both agreed you don't give that up because unless you're going to be your core, your foundation of the defense. So you're not just going to give up on that.
No, if you keep Williams unless they're offering a number one pick and more, because
Right. That's what we said.
He's got the talent and he's helping the core. I think you really should trade Darnold. I don't think that he has a future with this team. There's just been too much. I don't know anyone who will want him because they're probably yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I wrote a couple weeks ago. I mean, he had value a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he has value right now to any team. I mean, could he save the Cowboys? Probably not. So that's the only team that really desperately needs somebody to lead them. The Patriots, he could probably lead the Patriots. And
you know who could save the Cowboys? Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh yeah, that's a interesting deal that Miami could make. But so he could save the Patriots too, though.
Yeah, but so this is where I disagree with you.
Okay.
And I said this in the podcast. You can't trade him now. Okay, and this is the reason why. Even if you're tanking this year, right, and you're convinced that you're going to get Trevor Lawrence, it's not set in stone that you're going to get Trevor Lawrence now.
No.
Right? Because now Trevor Lawrence is seeing the tea leaves and he's like, oh shit, I'm not playing for the Jets. I might as well stay in school. If you get rid of Sam now, you go through the rest of this year with Joe Flacco, right? That's obviously spelling 0-16. Joe Flacco looks god awful.
Yeah.
So
I know where you're going. I know where you're going, bud, and that's a great pose to freeze in. You kill all of the confidence of the rest of the team. I get it. None of these other guys get to build any. And
I can tell. So he was going to say, what's your backup plan? Because if you get rid of Sam and you don't get Trevor Lawrence, then what? Then you're screwed.
And the thing is, I don't know if Lawrence might be looking at the Jets and saying, oh no, but he also might be looking at like there might not be a national championship this year. Am I really going to get to play through the college football playoff like I want to? Do I want a full season as my final season in college to win another title with my team? And he might have other reasons he wants to go back to school. But
you're giving up millions and millions of dollars to go back to school that you might get hurt on. Let's say he blows out his knee next year. He's never going to play in the NFL.
I mean, that's true. He could blow out his knee now, though, and never play in the NFL. So.
Well, but you're right. But if you choose to go back to college because you don't want to play for a certain team.
But you're thinking – I'm thinking like a college kid who is not at school right now because they're not at school. So does he want a final year at school to party with his teammates, or does he not want that? Because right now he's just kind of –
So I would say if these SEC teams – because Clemson's in the SEC, right?
ACC?
I don't remember.
Oh, ACC.
ACC. All right. Remember a few months ago they were like, "Oh, we're going to play spring football." That would have been a disaster because none of those guys that were going to be NFL prospects were going to play. And you bet your ass Trevor Lawrence was not playing spring football right before the NFL draft.
No, but so the other thing, I agree. Lawrence might not go to the Jets. The Jets might not draft him, even though they should if they have the opportunity. But
could you imagine? So, we didn't even think about that. Could you imagine what would happen if they had the number one pick and they didn't take Trevor Lawrence?
Well, I mean, if they like Darnold, why are you gonna not build around him? Get another Jamal, the Keyshawn Johnson type at number one. That's what they picked the last time, their last number one pick, and that was a slam dunk.
I guess, but man, would they get annihilated
Yeah, but we're ripping them for not giving Darnold weapons, and they got an opportunity to maybe trade from number 1 to 2 and get 2 top 10 picks or something. Silly, they could really, really build around this guy if they still like him.
No. If you get a king's ransom, that's a different story. I'm talking about actually keeping the pick.
Keeping the pick and not taking Lawrence. But is Lawrence – Lawrence is the top quarterback. Is he the top pick?
Oh, that I couldn't that I don't know.
We don't know yet. The other thing is the Jets looked like they could beat Buffalo last week. Now the Bills were letting them stay in the game. But there are a handful of teams with only one victory that don't look significantly better.
I think Jacksonville's in tank for Trevor mode too now.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants got 1 victory. The Cowboys got 2. Who else? The Chargers.
So it's the Bengals, the Bengals, the Giants, the
Bengals have a tie.
I just had it up too.
Bengals have a tie, but the Jets are likely to win a game.
The Falcons, the Vikings, the Texans, and I think there's one other team there. So 3 out of those 5 teams don't need a quarterback. I mean, Giants aren't picking another quarterback right now. The Texans have got Deshaun Watson. Joe Burrow is already in Cincinnati. Atlanta's got Matt Ryan. All right, maybe they could pick him. So there's about 3 or 4 teams that only have 1 win still.
Right, and if Tua's playing for Miami, we have no idea how that's going to go. The Jets could steal a win against the Dolphins. They could steal a win against the Patriots, who are looking worse and worse. I mean, they're not going to beat Kansas City. They're not going to – I mean, who else they play? They play Dallas. They could beat Dallas now. So the Jets.
The Jets don't play Dallas.
Oh, they don't play the NFC East.
No.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if Bud can hear us or talk right now because he's having
he's out. But
I can hear you.
Use your facial expressions.
Now we hear him. No, I heard you. We were saying 2 weeks ago when we went to the schedule, there's no wins on the Jets schedule. Now there's a win that just popped up. It's the Patriots.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they got a real shot at them, especially if Stidham's playing quarterback. But
on Monday Night Football, too, next week, by the way.
We haven't really heard much trade talk, and there's only a few days before the deadline.
We usually don't, though.
Last year there was a
NFL's not a big trade league.
No, but the last couple seasons there's been a flurry of moves. You just think someone like the Cowboys with a shot to win their division would trade for a quarterback. I mean, I'm surprised.
Do they really have a shot at the division? That defense is historically bad. Historically bad. And their offensive line is a mash unit too. Zeke Elliott, you can't get peanuts for Zeke in fantasy right now. You couldn't give him away. He's not worth anything.
I'm aware he's lost me. He's crushed me 2 weeks in a row. I don't have anything else to play.
Right. Yeah, so you have Zeke Elliott behind that line. If you put anybody else behind there, I mean, it's awful.
Yeah. No, I know you're right. But the Patriots feel like this was their rebuilding year anyways. Why are they going to trade for somebody? They'll work some magic in the draft. I'm just a little surprised. Now, do the Jets and Giants have anything left to play for? I guess is really the question. We got half the season under our belts. Are we playing for pride? Are we building on rookie
pride?
Well, it worked last year. We were at this point last year, and the Jets rattled off like 6 victories. It was astounding.
No. Their second half schedule last year, Dan, was very easy. You know that.
I do. But they still won.
No, this is not.
So how did they? So we ask you this, right? The NFL is supposed to do their schedules where you're a bad team, you're supposed to get an easier schedule. The Jets were a bad team last year and got one of the hardest schedules.
No, they weren't. They were a 7-9 team. They were right in the middle of the pack.
It was lower half, no? It just feels like they got one of the hardest schedules. Now, maybe it's because it was in the rotation for them to play the NFC.
Yeah, they also got rid of a bunch of pieces in the offseason, too, and didn't do anything to improve themselves.
Maybe that's part of the plan.
Well, you could be right. I
mean, they couldn't turn down that deal for Adams. I think that still was a good move. I haven't heard a peep out of him all season. I mean, I know Seattle's rolling, but I haven't heard anything.
Well, he's been hurt for a couple weeks.
Oh, he has. That's unfortunate for him. He didn't sign a new deal.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah,
shucks.
All right. Well,
they have no plan. They have no plan. This is their plan. Adam Gase went to Chris Johnson and said, "Just let me coach. Just let me keep coaching. If he's still the coach next year, which it's not out of the realm of possibility that he is." Could you imagine this team go 0-16 and he's still the coach next year?
Well, that would truly be a joke. A joke beyond jokes. Well, remember the alternative was Mike McCarthy? Look how he's doing in Dallas.
I said that to Phil in the podcast. I mean, it makes the Jets' decision look at least somewhat better because he's completely lost the locker room in Dallas. He looks like a shell of a coach. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers clearly got that one right.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You can only hire the people available or the people that make themselves available. And so maybe the Jets chose the best option available to them at the time. I don't know who's going to be available to them this offseason, which is probably why they haven't pulled the trigger. What's that?
They got to go get a young offensive line. That's what they need. That's what the league is turning into. You look at Cincinnati's not great on defense, but they have a young offensive-minded coach, and they have a rookie quarterback who's just chucking the ball all over the place.
I am having severe deja vu. We said this exact same thing the last time they were out looking for a coach and with Bowles on the block. And they went for an offensive guy, but not a young, fresh guy. And their track record says they'll go back defense again because they always turn back to the defense. And they get goaded by these defensive coaches, which is not the league. I completely agree.
Rex Ryan's available.
Go get Rex Ryan.
He was one of the few guys that wanted to coach this team. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
He's one of the few guys that's had success with them.
Yeah, well, he actually enjoyed coaching the Jets, which is not many you can say about many of these people. You can tell they just aren't enjoying themselves.
That would make them instantly watchable again if Rex Ryan's on the sideline.
And if he keeps Greg Williams, that's talk about a fiery sideline. I don't know if he would, but do you think Greg Williams is itching to get a head coaching gig? I know he really wanted that Browns job, and they wouldn't give it to him.
I don't think he's.
I don't think he's the material, but I'm just curious if he wants it.
I just think that he has a bad reputation.
Well, he does, and you can tell the refs are against him and the Jets because of it.
So I mean, nobody's going to want to sniff that.
No. Do you think McCarthy keeps his job in Dallas because of the Dak injury? Oh, no, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Because Dak got hurt.
He's going to get a pass.
Yeah. Dak got hurt.
Right. Listen, I told you guys last year when Giants were looking for a coach, I wanted nothing to do with Mike McCarthy. Nothing.
I know.
I don't look so crazy now, do I?
No, well, he had success, but that's past.
No. He had Aaron Rodgers and only had one Super Bowl to show for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can argue that's success, but you have arguably the best player in football during that time span, and you can only have one Super Bowl. I think he only had one Super Bowl appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, Aaron Rodgers is very good, but it is hard to argue with Tom Brady not being the best since he won so much.
Oh, well, yes, that's true, but Aaron Rodgers is right there as well.
I mean, he's statistically out of this world, but he didn't win like Brady won. So it's just an interesting argument. I mean, what do you value more? What do you value?
But look at him this year. I said before the season, this is why I love Devontae Adams in fantasy. I said he is going to chuck the ball all over the field. Yeah. Devontae Adams almost put up 200 yards last week.
Yeah, so
I think he had like 13 targets.
So we saw that Drew Brees hit his wall before the season began, and he's never really gotten it going. Do you think Rodgers or Brady or Roethlisberger is going to hit that wall soon? Because we're midway through the year.
Pittsburgh's undefeated, so.
But, I know. Pittsburgh's winning. I mean, Ben's played well, but Ben's not the reason why they're winning.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So then maybe he already found a new way to play and is working past that. Just Brady hit a wall last year, but the Patriots didn't have enough to keep him up. I think the Bucs can win without Brady doing a lot, but it doesn't mean he doesn't hit that wall.
I'm going to say something that I never thought I would say in my life. Tom Brady is a genius. And this is why. He saw the writing on the wall. He left the Patriots a year early instead of staying there a year late. He saw that the team was no good. He saw that the offense was no good. And now you're seeing a product of it. Is it Belichick or is it Brady, right? At this point, you'd have to say that it's, yes, he got the coaching from Belichick, and yes, he turned into Tom Brady. But the Patriots are terrible, and Tom Brady is just cruising along in Tampa.
So I agree with you that he got out a year early. But you figure when you are great for 10-plus seasons, you're going to have a rebuilding year. So he got out before
they were great. But they were great for 20 years, Dan.
Well, all right, sorry. I unembellished. but you eventually think that's going to happen, right? Maybe not. But he went to the perfect situation. I mean, the Bucs just got it together. It's
the Bucs. I don't know. The Bucs are going to be good with anyone not named Jameis Winston because they were scoring points at a great clip last year. The only problem is Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions, so it let all these other teams back in, so the win-loss record wasn't as good.
Well, yeah, and I always liked Aaron's the coach, and he's totally turned that team around. And it's night and day because they didn't really. I mean, they added players. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't a rebuild.
So on that note, so we got like 90 seconds here. Does Antonio Brown make a huge difference in this team, or is he going to siphon away all the targets from Evans and Godwin and Tim Patrick and Fournette and Gronkowski?
That was a pure depth move for the playoffs. I
All
don't think he does anything besides get himself ready as a third weapon in the playoffs. They don't need him.
No, you're right. They definitely don't need him.
But he's scary good if he gets himself into shape for the playoffs.
I could totally see Antonio Brown being a top 15 wide receiver by the end of the year.
By the end of the year, yeah. Give him a month, right? Like something like that.
He's going to have to get into football shape.
Yeah.
But I could totally see. I mean, Mike Evans is a shell. He's hurt. He's not getting targets.
Well, he has an ankle. Yeah, he has an ankle
Godwin
injury.
just broke his finger. I mean, he might be out a week or two.
The other guy's got a hamstring injury, right? They got injuries across that wide receiver core.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so maybe he'll have bigger impact than I realized. Maybe that's why they made the move. But that's a great team regardless. It's just basically we made our predictions preseason and they've all come true so far. It was a closed book on the league, except for maybe the Giants and Jets' success.